Hi everyone, it's Sasha and Susie from Women's Fight News. Obviously, we're here Wednesday today, not Monday, but it's worked out quite well, hasn't it?
It has. So, because you were off on your travels, so how was Munich?
Good, tiring, good though. So I'm trying to get another holiday book to just relax a little bit. No, it was really good, but I unfortunately then missed the fights on Saturday, which I'm always annoyed about. I hate watching them the next day because I do that classic thing of I go on Twitter and now I already know what's happened, so I hate watching it back. But apart from missing the fights, holiday was good. Holiday was good.
Those big the 2-pinter glasses looked pretty cool.
So I'm on a detox now. So them Steins are just another level. Just another level. A little bit hungover. I felt it today, and I was back working like this afternoon, and I was like, could have done with a couple more days rest. But it's fine. It's fine. It was worth it. And like we were just saying before we went live, it's worked out well that we missed the Monday show because obviously I was away because so much has happened since like the last couple of days. It's been unreal.
It's like you knew. I was just saying before we went live, I was like, you
I just know these things. So I was like, you know what? I'll book a holiday. We'll miss the Monday live. We'll do a Wednesday live instead because I knew all this shit was going to happen. Let's start though. Obviously, on Saturday, Tasha Jonas, Marie-Eve Dicaire headlined the AO Arena, and I just want to remind everyone they headlined the AO Arena. Okay, so they can do it because we'll go on to talk about it in a little bit. What did you think of the fight?
You know, I enjoyed it. It was very entertaining. I love a fight where there's a lot going on, because it was actually, you know, the first round, Tasha looked amazing, snapped his head back a couple of times, thought it was going to be dominant from then on, but actually Marie gave a real good fight. I wasn't going down lightly, and it turned out pretty competitive because I didn't have it with 190 like one of the judges had it. I had it a lot closer than that, probably 7-3 or 6-4 even. But obviously, Tasha won and she deserved to win. But I just was pleased that it was a competitive fight that I enjoyed watching.
Yeah, it was. It was a great fight. And we obviously spoke about it last week, and we were, or especially me, I was quite guilty of talking about it as if Tasha was going to win. And I did always have that feeling that Tasha will win. She does have, I think it did show the highest skill set. But Marie-Eve Dicaire made it so competitive, like she does in all of her fights, even against Claressa Shields, who obviously she took the distance. Like you said, Tasha, it was like the reverse to Tasha's last fight, I thought. In her previous fight where she unified, she started a little bit slow. And there was an argument that you could have had her even maybe 2 rounds down. Whereas it was the opposite this time around. She started quick. Like I said, she landed 2 massive left hands, like snapped Marie's head back. But what she was guilty of, because Joe Gallagher is very honest when he's in the corner. I think it clearly works for Tasha. It certainly wouldn't work for some people, but I like how he is in the corner. I know when I've watched some fights in the corner, like, oh, you're up 7-0, and you think they haven't even won a round yet. He was brutally honest, I thought, to Tasha in the corner. I think he was at times a little bit frustrated with Tasha's work. And I'd noticed a couple of times where, and then Joe went on to say, I think it was halfway through the fight, where she was winning these rounds, like the first minute, she's winning, she's running away. And then she just like, it wasn't like losing concentration, but just something would happen. And then she just wouldn't really do anything. So there were times that the rounds become probably a lot closer than they needed to be. At times, and just for whatever reason, it looked like Tasha would switch off a little bit, and she'd end up getting hit when she didn't need to be hit. But she did always start, or the majority of the rounds, she started solid. You know, a hand speed come through, a footwork. I think it was definitely a good fight. The last round was so good. It was so good. And I think Marie knew, though. I mean, there was an argument, like I say, there was an argument for 6-4. So that last round is so important.
Yeah.
You know, it goes from a draw.
Yeah.
Not when it's 190, which is bizarre. Even Joe Gallagher himself came out and said he had it 7-3. So I have no idea how we've got 100-90 on a scorecard.
Yeah. But like I said, that last round's always important because it can sway the judges when fight, can't it, when you end strong? Talking about Joey, I forgot that first round when she had an amazing first round, like you were saying, snapped her head back twice, and then went back to the corner. Joe's like, "What the hell are you doing?" You know?
He wasn't. He definitely. I mean, he come out himself and said he didn't think Tasha started the fight great. However, had a 4-1 up. So, I mean, I'd be quite happy with that. You know, even though you're not performing great, and it's not that she's not fighting well. Just Marie is such a tricky opponent with her. You know, like we said last week, that glitchy style she has. She is tough, and Tasha had to constantly be on her toes, moving in and out, in and out. The only thing I thought was they were both a little bit guilty of headhunting at times, especially the first half of the fight. And the way Marie was obviously trying to work her way in, they'd get tangled up and they were still trying to just go for the head. And I just thought that the body was left open, especially Marie has a very high guard. I thought it was later on, probably from round 7 onwards, that Tasha started to go down to the body, and you know, that definitely worked and helped in her favor. But yeah, I just thought at times they were headhunting, and it was working because they were both pinging each other. But I think there was maybe opportunities to go a little bit lower to the body. But
I wonder if anyone's asked them as well about fighting a southpaw, because obviously neither of them used to fighting a southpaw. So whether that took a bit of getting used to, because they're going to end up tangling up a little bit more almost because they're fighting in a way they're not expecting.
Yeah, I mean, Tasha had mentioned that prior to the fight, saying that she's another southpaw. It does make it trickier. And I know the commentators mentioned the fact that obviously they don't fight a lot of southpaws, like, ever, do they?
No.
So I think that's what probably at times, yeah, they were getting tangled up. There were a few head clashes, but nothing disastrous. There was no cuts. Obviously, Marie ended up popping her nose. I don't know if it was broken or she just bleeds a lot from nose because it was just pouring. Yeah, because I remember seeing the picture, like I said, because I didn't watch it live, and I saw like them at the end, and they were both like caked in blood, but the faces looked okay, and I was like, I don't know where that's come from. But yeah, a great shot, and I mean, Tasha definitely was winning the rounds because she was more accurate.
Yeah,
and the shots she landed were big, but you know, and I think there were times that I think Marie probably could have countered, but her hand speed just isn't quite there. Because there was definitely times that maybe Tasha could be a little bit static, and wasn't maybe moving as well as she normally does only at times. And I think, if Marie had that hand speed a little bit quicker, you know, she might have caught her and you never know, potentially get a draw. But you know, it wasn't 100-90 at all. And I think it discredits not just Marie Dicaire, but also Tasha Jonas, who's just been in, you know, a bit of a war. It wasn't an easy fight. She admitted herself. It was a tough fight against one of the best in the division. You know, the scorecard should highlight that. So, I just don't understand that.
It's one of the most aggressive I've seen Marie, to be honest.
Yeah.
I haven't seen so aggressive, because I think when we were talking last week, I was like, well, size doesn't matter because she's usually sort of on the back foot, really.
Yeah.
Now. And yet she seemed to have got this game. She was going to try and use her size, because she did come in and try and lean on Tasha, use her weight. And I was quite surprised.
She had the right game plan. She was trying to use that double jab to get in, and then she just then smother away. It was like she then couldn't quite stop. Like when she started moving in, it just never stopped until she kind of like landed physically on Tasha. But she definitely had the right game plan. But again, credit to Tasha, because I think they adjusted their game plan as the fight went on. I think Marie did come out different to what we've seen in the past. So obviously, fair play to Tasha and obviously Joe Gallagher, we've had to adjust a little bit, and it definitely got better towards the end. And I think they both got tired because, again, it was a big pace. But I thought Tasha got better as she got tired, because she actually planted her feet and was really digging in some big body shots, especially. And it looked like it was hurting Marie at times. So it probably done her better later on. But yeah, definitely a great fight. Enjoyed it. Deserved to headline. So, and I forgot how quick. I think it was 10 weeks from when Tasha last unified to this fight.
That's really quick.
And like, we'll talk about Tasha's possible future opponents. But when she was asked that in the post-fight press conference, she was like, I just want a holiday, because she's obviously not been able to thoroughly enjoy that moment of becoming a unified champion. She went from one camp to another, tiring. But, you know, credit to Boxer, who, since, you know, Tasha's been with them, they've or being with boxer they've delivered. 9 months, and she's had 3 world title fights.
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad. So definitely delivering. Like I say, I'd love to see Marie of Dicaire again. I'd like to see her in even with Savannah Marshall.
Yeah, it has made me really excited to see Marie back in the ring. Actually,
Yeah,
really have. I
definitely.
feel like better than ever, to be honest.
Yeah,
against some of the others.
Yeah. There's loads of fights out there for Marie, and that was. I mean, she's an exciting fighter. She always has been, but for me, that was the most exciting I've seen her. And I think I know she didn't come away with the win, but it was a very close loss. Don't get me wrong, Tasha, yes, she won probably 7-3, 6-4, but she's made every round competitive. And with that style, she could upset some of the big names within that division, or maybe a couple of divisions higher. And we know she's obviously moved up higher. She's got the height. So, there's some big names out there. And yeah, she says she'll be back. It's only a loss, isn't it? At the end of the day, you bounce back, and I'm sure, and I think she would have gained a lot of fans as well from that fight. So it's one of them where she's lost her belt, but her stock's risen, and I'm sure she'll be on to another one. So then, obviously, we now move on to Tasha and kind of what's next. So she holds 3 of the main 4 belts within the division.
Yeah,
we've spoken about it for the last few weeks about Tasha Jonas, Terri Harper. And I genuinely thought this would be the easiest fight to make. I'd be like, they both want it. It's going to be easy. I think Terri will go to Sky because obviously Tasha will hold the majority of the belt. Done. Simple. Yeah, I'm literally like booking hotels and everything. Like, right, that fight is done, dusted. Let's move on to the next one. It's not even. It might not even happen.
Yeah, which is crazy because I literally, like you, I thought that would be the fight because most fighters, they get majority of the belts, they want to get the full set and go undisputed in that weight division. So that's what I was expecting. So, but that's not the story so far.
No. So post-fight press conference, we'll talk about Terri Harper in a minute, but basically I can't remember what media outlet asked, but they asked the very fair question of, you've got 3 obvious options, which is Terri Harper, Katie Taylor, and I think they mentioned Jessica McCaskill, but you've also got Claressa Shields, so we'll say 4 options. And Joe Gallagher, before Tasha could answer, was like, we're not even entertaining Terri Harper. We're not even going to talk about it. There's no point. So we'll go on to that in a minute, but I was a bit surprised by that.
Yeah.
So obviously there's been some other names out there. We'll start with the Katie Taylor fight. So what do you think of this fight?
I don't really want to see it, to be honest, because I just feel like I can't help but feel like she's got unfinished business at this current weight. So I can't see beyond it. Seeing her get a clean sweep at this weight, because I would imagine she'd have to go down to lightweight face Katie. Katie's not going to come up. Yeah, and they fought before. It was a good fight, but I felt like Katie won quite convincingly. So I don't really feel like I want to see that rematch. Maybe further on down the line, if Natasha then becomes undisputed, then yeah. But right now, it's not my top fight I want to see. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I don't get it. So when I've said this on Twitter, because I've said I don't get the logic. I get why Tasha Jonas is calling out for that fight, because she is putting her name forward like every other boxer who can make 135. So I understand that. Of course, you are a boxer who can make 135 pounds. You want to fight Katie Taylor because she's the biggest name in boxing. One of the biggest names in boxing. She's got this mega fight at Croke Park, and it's a big. I still don't think it's a massive money maker. My logic behind that is, unless you're Amanda Serrano, where you've got, we want to see the rematch and you're pound for pound 1 and 2, arguably. It's not like Katie's short of options. Therefore, you're not taking that fight because you're going to get the biggest payday of your life, in my opinion. You're taking that fight for the opportunity to fight a great at Croke Park. So I actually don't think it is going to be, don't get me wrong, you'll be paid a lot of money, but I still don't I think that's going to be one, like, you should be grateful for the opportunity, not the payday type
Yeah,
of
well,
situation.
Serrano would be getting, for instance. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's different. If you're Amanda Serrano, then actually, because that's the fight everyone wants to see, and that's the one that'll make the most money, she holds more clout there a little bit. But I feel like if you're not Amanda Serrano, every other fighter who's put their name forward, it's not going to be their biggest payday.
No.
Unless you're Amanda, it's not your biggest payday. So, but I understand the reasoning as a boxer who can make the weight. Yeah, of course. I get that. So I get why Tasha herself is saying it. I don't get the narrative, though, that, like, for instance, Boxer, Sky Sports, they're trying to put forward, because there isn't a narrative there. It's like they've made one up. I know Joe Gallagher said there's unfinished business with Katie Taylor, and I genuinely don't know what that is. Because, like you said, I thought the first fight was fine. It was a good fight. It was behind closed doors, which I think was a shame. But they took that fight behind closed doors. And then Katie won. It wasn't a split decision. I've never heard anyone say it was controversial.
No.
It just literally was what it was. And that's absolutely fine. But we don't need, like, we can't keep seeing all these rematches for the sake of a rematch, because we'll never move forward. So I don't get the narrative that's being created for it. I just don't get it. I do, unless you're the fighter themselves, who, everyone, I'm putting my name forward for Katie Taylor. If I get paid 7 figures, I'll go to Croke Park. It's fine. So I get it. But I don't get the business side of it at all.
And from a fan's point of view, for myself, it doesn't get me as excited as other fights do.
No, I agree. We've seen the fight. Do you know what I mean? I think we've seen it. And I know it was behind closed doors, but they took that note and it was behind closed doors. Yeah, we've seen it. I've seen it once. I'd be happy if we never saw it again. There's other bigger fights for both of them, more exciting fights, more entertaining fights, and genuinely bigger paydays, I think. So, yeah. So it's a no from both of us, Susie. Right, here's another one. Jessica McCaskill. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I'd like to see it more than the Katie Taylor fight. I don't think McCaskill would take this fight right now. Coming off a loss, she's going to want to go for a sure win, if you know what I mean. Just get herself confidence back, go for a more sure win. Because obviously Tasha's got to the point where, she could nick that fight. I don't think McCaskill will want that at the moment. But in terms of Natasha, I could see her wanting to go to that fight because, she's got every opportunity to win that and become undisputed at that way.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I just think, why not try to become undisputed at this weight and then do the double undisputed fight, I just feel like she's leaving it unfinished. But I would like to see that fight. I think it would be a great fight to watch and more interest for me than the Katie Taylor fight. We haven't seen it before. And it'd be a great matchup of styles. I think it'd be exciting.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I've wanted this fight for like 12, 18 months. It feels like it is a fight that I've wanted to see for a long time. I like the clash of styles. I think it would be entertaining. But I've never heard Tasha mention it until now, since Jessica's mentioned Terri. And it always makes me think, is it like games now where obviously Terri took the Hannah fight away? So is Tasha wanting to take the Jessica fight away? I don't know. I've never heard it mentioned before from Tasha personally, but I do like the fight. But Jessica said she wanted to move up and give 154 again. So if she's talking about Jessica McCaskill, would she take Jessica at 154? Probably not, because it's high risk, low reward, because that's a huge voluntary defense, isn't it, Jessica McCaskill? But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it again, like you. I'd like to see it much more than the Katie Taylor fight. If that fight was to happen, I'd quite like to see it in America. I'd like Tasha to get her opportunity to fight in America. She does great over here. What an opportunity that would be. And the Americans would love her, and I think she deserves a big platform like that as well. So if I was, that fight, I'd like to see over there. But yeah, I'm like you. I just feel like it's a bit it would make more money if you had undisputed versus undisputed.
Yeah.
So could the winner of Tasha and Terri possibly look at that fight?
Yeah.
But, yeah. And of course, another name mentioned, Claressa Shields. What's your opinion on this?
I mean, yeah, another great matchup. However, I don't see the point in Claressa coming down and fighting anyone until everyone has decided who's the winner at that weight.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of people still in the mix with, obviously Tasha's the one that's in the front with the 3 belts, but you've also obviously still got Terri, and you've also got Mary Spence, who seems to be become mandatory in nearly
For everyone.
And is everyone's heels. So until all that's resolved, I don't see the point in Shields almost coming back into the mix. I mean, yeah, if Shields wants a load of fights and get in the mix, then fair enough. But Shields is at sort of the top of the game, it's usually pound for pound. So it makes sense for me for them to decide amongst themselves who the winner is, fight each other. And then that ultimate winner fight Shields.
Yeah, completely agree.
But, I wouldn't complain.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly listen Claressa with anyone. I wouldn't, with any of them named, I wouldn't complain. I think the issue time-wise, it can't, I think that fight could happen potentially in the future, but it can't be the next 1 or 2 fights because Claressa's obviously got MMA commitments. I don't know if it's just the one MMA fight or now that they've pushed it back, will she have 2 fight commitments? I don't know. You've obviously still got in the mix the Savannah Marshall rematch.
Yes.
If that's to happen, when will that happen? So, and like you say, I mean, Claressa's mentioned both Tasha and Terri, but I'm pretty sure she wants to come down for undisputed. So again, to me, would make sense, have the opportunity to potentially fight the winner. But again, like we spoke before, there's a big size difference there between Claressa and Tasha and Claressa and Terri.
It's kind of crazy to think that super, part of a super middleweight would fight. Because how low is Natasha ever fought? Is it super feather? Is it
super feather? She's fought as low, yeah.
Is it even lower than that, or is that the lowest? Because
yeah, like super feather's the lowest.
Feather and super middle. What a difference.
Yeah. And obviously, I know Claressa a long time ago said it'd be great to fight Katie Taylor, literally 1 and 2, but Katie was like, I can't move up. But Katie's a natural 135 fighter. When you're going as low as 130, which obviously is what Tasha and Terri fought at against each other, to go up to Claressa, it's a big, big jump. I don't know. Steffi Bull was asked this in an interview he recently done, and he was like, it's a big jump, and maybe in the future if the opportunity could come type of thing. Yeah. But, that's a fight you got to be ready for. That, you don't just take that on, and hope for the best. You don't just get chucked in the ring with Claressa Shields. She is the best, one of the best to enter the ring.
And that's what has to be for the best fight, like the undisputed or something like that.
Yeah. So again, I think, I don't know how realistic it is that we even see that fight. So out of them 3 options that were mentioned, the most realistic for me would be Jessica McCaskill.
Yeah.
But she mentioned Terri Harper, and obviously they're both under matchroom. So realistically, is that fight more likely to happen? But of course, the fight that everyone would like to see is this one. The rematch, Tasha Jonas, Terri Harper.
Yeah.
But
disputed. What isn't there to love about this?
The issue I've got loads of issues because I do want to see the fight, but this is where boxing just becomes so confusing to casual fans. So in theory, you've now got 2 semi-finalists because obviously you've got 2 fighters that hold the 4 main belts, which is confusing within itself, the fact that you've got 4 belts. But now it's like they don't get the final. It's like they're just like, no, it's fine. We're just happy to stay here. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying both of them because I know Terri wants to fight, but I don't get why you wouldn't take this fight. I really don't understand the logic.
It's frustrating because I get why. Well, I don't get, but they've obviously got issues with the matchroom. They've got issues with how things have been dealt with in the past, who wanted to take the rematch and who didn't. But they should just put that aside, and it's boxing. You should want the belts. We should go for the fights, what the fans want. like you say, it can sell out an arena, and it'd be the biggest female British boxing fight of all time. So what's not to have? And also, if the issue is around the fact that they don't want to deal with Matchroom, well, how are they going to get the Katie Taylor fight?
Well, yeah, so this is where they've contradicted themselves a little bit. So I know Joe Gallagher didn't quite fully explain why the Terri Harper fight's off the table, but Ben Shalom spoke to Sky Sports sometime, whether it was today, yesterday, whenever. I heard it today. And he was asked about that fight, and he kind of just went on to say about them having an issue with Matchroom in the past. I was like, well, is that the reason then? Because that's such a shitty reason. Because like you say, just get over it. Like, don't get me wrong. I didn't like, I remember being at Liverpool at the press conference and Tasha Jonas was supposed to be fighting. I could see her in the corner of my eye across the room and she had her name on that plaque thing. And all of a sudden it was taken away. They couldn't agree fight terms. She had to leave. And obviously all that drama happened with Eddie Hearn kind of being pretty disrespectful towards Joe and Tasha and the team about the level of opponent they wanted. Okay, yeah, not great. But she left. She moved to boxer. Like she's put on Twitter today, she's getting paid high-end 6 figures. She's a world champion. So wouldn't you go back and go, this is what you've lost out on? Wouldn't you go back smug as anything and go, well, this is what you could have had? But I think we should also remember Matchroom did also give Tasha the Terri Harper fight and the Katie Taylor fight.
Yeah.
So I feel like people are quite quick to forget that. But she did get them opportunities when she was with through Matchroom, sorry. So I don't know. Yeah, it was shit what happened to her. But is that enough to stop you from making all of that money and for the potential to become an undisputed champion? No.
Well, like we said, she can negotiate for it to be on Sky Sports, the boxing show, because she holds the majority of the belt. So can't there be, instead of just flat no, can't there be negotiations for it to be on that platform?
Steffi Bull has come out and said that they're happy to go to Sky. So he's come out in an interview and he said he's spoken to Eddie Hearn. So obviously, as long as the money's right, it has to be the same or more than what Matchroom are offering, obviously. But they'll go to Sky, they've said. There's no issue with that. Like, it's simple. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so, and this is what he's saying. Like, if they want the fight's there in their eyes because they're quite open to anything. He also mentioned they could do a 2-fight deal. They could have the first on Sky Sports, and if they want a rematch, that could be on DAZN, for instance. So there's obviously options there. And then, because this is where, like, obviously people criticize Terri Harper herself for not having the rematch after the draw. But obviously the rematch was signed for. Terri Harper had a mandatory defense, which she done. And then the rematch with Tasha. And it was obviously Tasha and her team that didn't feel like the contract was right for them. That's fine, but I don't know why the fighter, like Terri Harper, gets blamed for that, because she doesn't make the contract. She's not paying Tasha. And this happens with fighters all the time. Situations like that, leave the fighter alone, because that's an issue then with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn if the money is not being there. But yeah, just a bit of a poor one for me. Like, I just don't... I don't know. I just find it not a good enough excuse to not take a fight, that you're a bit upset about what happened 2.5 years ago, or whenever it was, 2 years ago.
I agree. I just feel like it'd be a big letdown if we don't get this fight and we don't get undisputed at this weight.
Mm-hmm. So let's say the fight doesn't happen. Where that could possibly leave Tasha having to fight Mary Spencer.
Yes.
That's a huge risk for not as much money as Terri Harper. And by the way, Terri Harper's a huge risk. I mean, that's obviously a close fight, but at least the Tasha Terri fight, you're talking very high 6 figures. I think it could sell out an arena and a stadium. And I know Steffi Bull mentioned a stadium within their area. I don't know, because anywhere outside Liverpool, I don't know. But, there are so many places that could sell, and they could headline. So it's a big risk to lose that, and you've got the rematch clause.
Yeah.
For now, you're fighting one of potentially the most dangerous in those divisions, Mary Spencer, as a mandatory.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then if she doesn't want to face Mary Spencer, then it's a case of she'll have to face Katie or McCaskill and potentially vacate the belts if that.
That's if them fights. I don't think she'll get the Katie Taylor fight. I really don't. So I'll do a Joe Gallagher and not entertain that because I don't think she'll get it. I think if the Tasha Terri fight doesn't happen, I think Terri Harper's more likely to get the Jessica McCaskill fight if she wants it. So do you know what I mean? Like she could end up with no options, and which wouldn't be the first time this has happened to her.
Don't forget that Rick Ramos and Stippy Bull are very good friends, so that is an easier fight to make, like you say.
Yeah, and obviously they've tweeted about it. Jessica mentioned that fight in the build up to Chantel Cameron. Yeah, just a strange one. I just don't get it. But then I'm a bit like, is this so we're all talking about it like we are now? We're building the hype. Obviously, there's been a bit of back and forth as well on Twitter today. So if I just start with this one. So obviously this is the Steppy Bull tweeting that he can confirm that a large high-end six-figure offer has been sent out to Team Jonas for Harper Jonas 2 from Matchroom Boxing. And then he's obviously went on to put one of the best female fights that have taken place and then hashtag undisputed on the line. It's got history. It's got everything.
Yeah.
So that's been sent out today. And then obviously there's been a little bit of back and forth between Tasha getting involved and Terri a little bit. So I don't know whether is this Joe Gallagher's plot to kind of stir it to make the fight even bigger. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we have to see it. It is one of the biggest fights without a shadow of a doubt. Like I keep saying, it can headline, it can sell tons of tickets. The fight alone, because obviously I put on Twitter the fact that I think it could sell out an arena and a stadium. And I still stand by that. I might have had a couple of beers, but I still stand by that.
Right.
A couple of signs, but I actually think it could sell out a stadium. Would it sell at Croke Park? Maybe not, because obviously that's Croke Park, but I can't remember the stadium that Steffi mentioned, but somewhere like that. Okay. You're talking tens of thousands of people there, and all day, I believe it would sell out just based on how good the first fight was.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, you're adding all of the narrative and the story behind it. The fact it was controversial, it was a draw, the beef that went on the first time, the fact that Steffi Bull and Joe Gallagher could probably sell it on their own, the two of them. Do you know what I mean? It's just got everything that needs to happen for a great fight.
Both got big fan bases that go out and actually buy the tickets.
Someone put like they don't sell, and I was like, have you ever watched boxing? Like Tasha Jonas sells. She's just and like why I mentioned before, she's just headlined the AO Arena in Manchester. Now, I'm not saying it was 100% sold because I don't know if Top Tier was curtained off or something like that, but I think they all are nowadays because, we're in hard times. Not everyone can afford tickets and things like that. But she's just headlined the AO Arena. So financially, it's made sense to Boxer and Sky Sports to do that. Terri Harper always has a massive, massive crowd. We saw it every fight, in her last fight in Nottingham when we've seen her in Sheffield. Massive crowd, massive fan base. So, yeah, whoever said that has not been to either of their fights.
Yeah, two of the biggest ticket sellers in the British women. I'd say they're probably the two biggest.
Yeah. Some of the biggest in British boxing, and then the fact that they're going at it again. So, yeah, I think anyone who doesn't want the fight or doesn't think it can sell, I think they've just not seen the first one either. You watch the first one, and it was one of it was the best fight at that fight camp without a shadow of a doubt. But it was the fight that I thought really accelerated women's boxing, especially in this country.
And I put a tweet out about that because it literally was. It was the start of the boom, and it was fighting this, and in particular this one, that showed that women can fight and produce exciting fights and put the sport on the map. Yeah,
exactly. And it showed how the skill level that women have as well, because you had to, and it was a 50-50 fight at the time. And it was high quality, high skill, highly entertaining. So it had everything. So all them dinosaurs who hadn't like women's boxing prior, they had nothing to say after that fight because it delivered everything and more than what we'd seen in the past, even with men's boxing. So it'd just be such a shame. And I feel like if this fight doesn't happen soon, we will never see it again. Tasha Jonas isn't going to have another 5 years in the sport. So it would be a shame. But what can you do?
Yeah.
What can you do? And Terri was also interviewed. I can't remember the boxing outlet that done it. And she just said she'd love the fight, but she's not going to beg for it. And that they've got other options as well. So time will tell. We will see. But I don't know if this would be the next fight anyway, but it needs to be a fight by the summertime, I think.
Yeah.
But we will see. But it's all interesting. So that was just that one fight that happened with all the add-ons. Another fight that was crazy. Delfine Persoon in Dubai, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dubai on the same card as Floyd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Floyd
Mayweather undercard. So I'm going to quickly put this video on just to see what happened. So let's have a look.
And then also the bit after that, she then sees the ref's reaction, doesn't she? The opponent on the floor, and then goes flat out on the floor as though she'd been knocked out. Almost like.
Let's see if so that's such a good point. So obviously we've just seen what happens where she's knocked her opponent down. She's hit her on the way down. I'm kind of fine with that. Then her opponent is on all fours.
Yeah.
Delfine puts her left arm on her opponent's back to balance herself whilst hitting her. But I don't really think, you never see the angle. I don't think there was a bit of contact there, but it wasn't.
It didn't look hard.
No. But let's just see I can't remember if I've got the whole reaction, but let's just see her opponent's reaction then. So, she gets an Oscar, doesn't she?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I obviously don't agree with breaking the rules of hitting on the floor. Obviously, that is bad. She'd be punished for that. But in this circumstance, a hard hit, and it was a big dramatic. So,
yeah. So I'm in it's very split opinions on Twitter. So for me, it ended up being a no contest. I think Persoon should have been disqualified because obviously I can't even remember what shot she's hit it with, but I think it was like a backhand. Her opponent's gone down and she's kind of like crouching down and then Persoon hits her again. I blame the referee for that because the referee was actually really shit and too slow. And I know that's what Persoon's went on to say, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So I get that and I'd kind of accept that because I know, you're in the middle of a fight, you've got your adrenaline, your arms are just going. I get it, and we see it quite a lot. And that was not intentional.
No.
Her opponent, though, is then on all fours. Delfine places her left arm for balance on her opponent's back while gives her a right hook to the head. Come on. And I know she didn't fully land, but there was a bit of intent there. I can't buy the fact that was like she was in motion and the adrenaline. I can't buy it. I'm sorry, not for that last shot.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, she should have been disqualified for that. Because that's it. That's the rules are there for a reason, for people's safety, because at the end of the day, someone could get hurt. In this case, it was a light hit, but
was it though? Because her opponent, who then she just kind of like sprawled out, didn't she? And then the refs having to take like a mouth guard out, and then it's like, I'm sure she got oxygen.
Okay, she got oxygen. That's a bit more, but
I think that was. I think it was more because of her reaction, not because she needed it. None of the shots were even the first backhand where she kind of like crouched down, it was all a bit weird. It looked like her reaction looked like she'd just been like broken 3 ribs, but yet she got a shot to the head. So the whole thing was a bit.
It was the fact she looked at the ref before she did that as well.
Yeah. So it was all like it was super strange. Like if anyone's not seen it, just go and watch the whole fight. But it was a mismatch anyway. It was, but we know I'm not blaming Persoon for that. She'll just get in the ring to keep active. But the whole her opponent's reaction was just odd. Don't get me wrong. However, Persoon has broke the rules completely. But she was really upset, and she felt, and I understand what she's saying. She said something on the lines like, as a fighter, you continue to fight until you're told not to. So I do believe the ref was too slow.
Yeah.
But that third shot, literally when you are using your opponent to balance yourself whilst illegally hitting your opponent, come on. Like, that's just nothing.
Rules. That's it. That's the end of it, really. Doesn't matter if you can give every excuse in the book. You hit someone, then with the down. So
nuts. But it was a no contest. So I thought Delfine got away with that.
Yeah, that's a bit odd, isn't it? That should have been a disqualification.
Just a disqualification. Yeah, don't quite understand. But Delfine didn't quite look with it in the sense of then she's sent to the corner and she's being told about 15 times to go to the opposite corner and she's just looking at him. And then in the end, she like throws her arms up and walks over it. But it's like, no, you can't keep making up your own rules. Like stand where you're being asked to stand. So I don't know, the whole situation was a bit odd. I think the whole card was a little bit strange. I know Tommy Fury had like the whole thing was a bit of a shit show. But I think Delfine got away with it. Lucky enough, her opponent's not hurt. I'm sure she will milk that. To be fair, she's as dramatic as I am, so I shouldn't really judge her. But yeah, I think she got away with that as a no contest. It should have been a disqualification. However, I love Delfine Persoon, and I hope we see her in the ring soon, just a little bit safely this time. But she's there all over the shop, and her arms, and she probably might have accidentally done it. I don't know.
I'm a bit disappointed for her because if she hadn't have got those 2 last shots in and just done that, she should have got that girl out and had another knockout on her record.
Yeah, it is a shame, but we all love Delfine Persoon, so I'm gonna let her off a little bit. And some potential big fights for her. I want to see the Persoon and then the winner of Baumgardner-Choi, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, Persoon, I'm just glad she's back out in the ring.
Yeah.
Legal or illegal with what she's doing in the ring. I'm happy she's back out. So that's exciting. Another fight that took place in Dubai, but on a different card. This was the crypto fight night where quite a few of the Frank Warren's stable went, was Raven Chapman.
Yeah.
And somehow it went the distance, and I will never know how because, oh my God, Raven was brutal. Like, just unreal. And what's funny is obviously she's like the nicest person that you'll ever meet outside the ring. And then in the ring, she is terrifying. What I liked really about this one, I mean, Raven gets better every fight we see. And she's got unreal body shots. Like, they just like crunch in. But she was just pinging this right hand off her opponent, and the poor opponent's head just going all the way back, like 180 degrees, it's snapping back. And she'd just stay. She just wouldn't. Honestly, just like a brick wall. I don't know how she survived the distance against Raven. Absolute fair play, but I'm pretty convinced she fought at least half of it unconscious because there's just no other explanation how she was just still there and standing because she took big shots.
Like when Heather Hardy says that doesn't remember most of the fight with Amanda Serrano, a bit like that.
Yeah. That's the situation I think it was like, where I think she's taken that many that I honestly just don't think she was there, but she was. But yeah, Raven was great as always, just doesn't stop, comes forward, but just in a very skillful way as well. It's very nice to see. She's super accurate, used her jab well, landed massive, massive right hands. And then, of course, she can like unleash to the body. Yeah, great to see her out. And it looked like she had a great week in Dubai as well. So perfect week. Yeah. Another win added to her record, had a nice little I'm not going to say a break because she worked very, very hard, but, nice to be in Dubai, isn't it?
And if anyone hasn't seen the fight, you've done a nice little highlight clip.
Yeah.
That was great. I think I retweeted it and put like beast mode because it's such a great little shot of her just full on.
I got that at the perfect time. So I'm in the airport as getting my first beer as she's on, because it ended up being about 4 p.m, I think, on the Saturday. It was quite early for us. And then I was like, I'm going to try and screen record it before my battery runs out. And I managed to get that perfect clip. But that's what she was like the whole shot. I think that clip is where I'm sure she landed, I think it was like a right hand, and her opponent like stumbled all the way from one side of the ring to the other. And then Raven just lets loose on these body shots and moves up and down the body so well. But I thought that was a great fight for her, because I think Raven would have learnt so much against Guanini.
Yeah.
That this was really nice for her to kind of, like we said last week, put into practice what you've been doing. Keep active. Take any fight at this stage. She'll be due a world title fight in the future. I think probably the middle of next year, I reckon she could get a title shot. So yeah, take all the fights and the experiences of being in Dubai as well.
And hopefully we see her out. I'm hoping we'll see her on the 3rd of December at the Fury undercard. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, she's always in the gym. She's always in great shape. She'll always make weight. What an opportunity that would be for her to be on that card. I can't see why she wouldn't want to be on it. So fingers crossed. I mean, for such a massive fight, it would make sense for Raven to be on. It's currently Frank Warren and Queensbury's only female fighter. So she needs to be on these big shows, doesn't she? And then a bit of a slow start with it when she signed to Frank Warren, but she's been super active since, the last couple of fights. So it'd be great to get out one more time, potentially get out early next year, and then, world title then in less than 12 months, she should have a world title fight.
Yeah.
So exciting times for Raven. And then another fighter who was Seniesa Estrada. Did you see her press conference prior to the fight?
Oh yeah, she was emotional. Yeah.
And I got emotional.
Boxing does come across like it is her life. She's been doing it for such an age. Again, she's another one a bit like Chantel Cameron, who I feel like is an incredible boxer, but not had all the opportunity she could have. She's had to go and work hard, been frustrating, being avoided. And I just really hope that Top Rank is the answer for her. She gets everything she deserves, because she's potentially one of, again, up there with Chantel being a top pound fighter. I believe she's in the mix there with top ones, with fighting in the top 5. So if not topping it off at some point, because she says the best is yet to come.
Yeah, I agree. She's such a good fighter. She's the full package, isn't she? Because she speaks very well. Everyone loves listening to her when she does commentary or punditry, and she is the full package. Boxing's just a horrible sport, isn't it, at times? And obviously she had issues with a past promotion and getting out of contract. And how many times have you heard these horror stories of, being forced to be inactive? And it's just awful. So it was really, in a way, sad, but such a happy moment to see how kind of emotional she was, that she was finally, after a year out, basically a year out, through no fault of her own. It's not even, there's not an injury. When it's out of your control, when someone else has forced that upon you, that must be incredibly frustrating. So, but what a great signing for Top Rank. And like you say, I mean, yeah, she's already top 10, surely, pound for pound, on everyone's list. But yeah, you're looking at one of the best.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, one of the most entertaining boxers, just period, one of the most entertaining boxers. And she didn't disappoint. It was a good comeback fight. It was never going to be her hardest challenge, with it being 12 months out. But great fight. I think she won literally every round on all of the scorecards. But it was a good, because it wasn't even just about kind of getting the ring rust off. It was, when you're on Top Rank, you got to show that you're good enough to be on Top Rank as well. And you've got more, even, new eyes watching, more people watching. So she didn't disappoint.
I just love her stuff. It just flows. It's just such an easy style to watch, like you say. And I think she's going to come out pretty sure when reviewed her in September. She said that again March time, I believe. It's going to come out again pretty quickly. So hopefully this is the start of her being very active.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to see her out, you know, at least 3 times, wouldn't you, next year? You know, being out for a year, you want to be as active as possible. I know world champions tend to only come out like twice now, but it would be nice to see her out at least 3 times. But yeah, I'm just excited for what's to come for Seniesa because, like I say, she does deserve it. It is a similar Chantel Cameron situation where sometimes you're just too good. So then you're avoided. No one wants to fight you. Obviously, then she's had contract problems and promotional problems. So hopefully that's all behind her now. And, you know, she's on the road to continue her success. So very excited for her. So they're kind of the main fights that happened. And then more news has broke. So obviously we've had some fights that have now been ordered and things like that. The one I was not expecting.
Yes.
Alicia Baumgardner against Choi. At last. How ridiculous is it that she's only just been ordered to fight? But exciting.
Yes, it's exciting, yeah. In terms of the actual fight, I'm not hugely excited about the fight. I'm happy that the fight's happening, and I'm happy that Baumgardner gets her opportunity for Undisputed. But I feel like it's an easy night for Baumgardner. Without being respectful to Choi, I just feel like, you know, in some ways, I guess it's hard for us to know what level she's at because she hasn't fought the best, has she?
She hasn't fought.
Really, no. So just based on that, I just feel like it's an easy night for Baumgardner.
Yeah, I'm not super excited to watch it. I mean, I am. I like watching Baumgardner. So I suppose, yeah, I am in that sense. And will she get the knockout? I think she will. Yeah, and it's a 50-50 split. So I don't know how I feel about that because, you know, Baumgardner's done work really hard to get herself that promotional value and that. And Choi is, I don't know. I just find the whole thing frustrating. She's obviously, listen, she's smart because she's sat on it knowing that she'll be ordered and she's getting a 50-50 pair split. And Baumgardner earned some good money in her last fight. She'll earn good money in this undisputed fight. So I suppose fair play to Choi in that sense. But yeah, I'm just happy it's happening. And then, you know, Baumgardner can go on and be in some more mega fights. You know, she's already been in with Terri. She's already been in with Michaela. Them both are bigger challengers than Choi by a million miles. So I think she comes through this one. But the excitement will be, will she get the stoppage or not? That'll be the exciting. And that's what's good about Baumgardner. Against other people, I would not be excited for Choi fighting certain people because no disrespect to Choi, but we haven't seen a lot of her. Obviously, I've got to be in my bonnet about the whole thing anyway. But she isn't the most exciting boxer to watch. And that's okay because not everyone is. And, you know, as long as you win and, you know, she's held the belt for a long time, so it's fine. But she's not the most exciting. You know, she just throws a lot of straights. She's not super fast. But it is what it is. But what's good about Baumgardner is you're always excited to watch her because you never know. Will it go the distance? Will she get the knockout? She's going to land the big right hand. So, yeah, for that, I'm excited.
And going to come into it not being the big underdog for once.
For once. And you know what? She deserves to go in and be the champion, holding the most of the belts, you know, expected to win. It's a different type of pressure for Baumgardner. You know, she's not been on this big platform with these belts in that situation. So, you know, as exciting as that is for her, you know, it's something new, I suppose, for her to deal with. But again, it's just all learning steps, isn't it, for these bigger fights? You know, Baumgardner will have plenty of big fights coming up in the future. But yeah, I'm glad she gets the opportunity. And I'm just glad the division, regardless of whether it was Baumgardner or Maya, I'm glad the division is getting an undisputed fight because that's what it deserves. So there was a little bit of back and forth between Michaela Mayer and Alicia Baumgardner. There always will be. Yeah. So this is obviously just ESPN announcing the fact that the fight has now been ordered. And Michaela Mayer put out a tweet saying, "I'm not upset about Baumgardner versus Choi. It's the obvious next move, and I fully expected it. We have a plan that I'm excited about, just staying fit and waiting on the call." Which I think is quite a nice message, you know. She isn't shocked. I mean, none of us were shocked. You know, it was obviously I know Mayo will want the rematch, but you know, I think if you get Mayo would have done the same. If it was between the rematch or Undisputed, you're going to take Undisputed.
Yeah, May would have done the same in the same situation, I think.
Yeah. So then we have Alicia Baumgardner just randomly put with it, "Ain't no rematch," which I do love.
I think one.
Yeah, she is just winding her up now because no one mentioned the rematch type thing. But and then Michaela Mayer's responses, "And that's why you'll be the most disputed, undisputed champion. As for me, I'll continue to give the fans the fights they want to see. Always." I do like that, the most disputed, undisputed champion.
They both great at these comebacks, these little comments. I think it's they're 50-50 in this.
Yeah. Listen, it's another split decision when it comes to Twitter, isn't it? Because they are both so good. But yeah, listen, I understand, and I know why fans. Of course, we want to see that fight again, but like I've said, we'll see it at a different weight, I believe, anyway. It makes sense that Baumgardner would take the undisputed fight. You would worry if she didn't, because we've just mentioned about Tasha and Terri, how it would make no sense. I get it. I did then ask, so I was asked Michaela Mayer a couple of questions the other day, and I said, would you potentially look at going to 147 for Jessica McCaskill? Because that's the fight I want to see. And 147 is definitely in her plan, but not right away, because obviously it's a big jump up in weight. And, Michaela, she's tall, but she's very lean, isn't she? She doesn't have the same body shape as some of the other girls who have jumped up. She doesn't necessarily hold like a ton of muscle and things like that. So I presume it would be a work in progress to get to that weight. So it definitely looks like Michaela will be looking at 135, but who? Interesting. She obviously wants the Katie Taylor fight.
I wonder if, thinking about it, just Phil Mosley, that would be a great matchup, wouldn't it? Because that would be like, because Katie Taylor's going to be the one that you just cannot get at the moment.
Yeah.
So if she can't get that, then what a nice sort of fight that would be. It's sort of second best in that division, really.
I agree. I think it'd be a good fight for Mayer as well, because I'm not saying Estelle's easy. I think Mayer wins that fight. I think it's a nice fight to go into the 135 division there. I think it'd be a good fight, but it would be a really good fight, and I'd look forward to that one. I do see Mayer coming through that, but again, I rate Mayer very high. I know she didn't beat Baumgardner, but for me, I mean, my top five's got like 10 people in somehow, but for me, she's like top five. But she is really, really good. There's no question about it. And I know she's slipped out of everyone's top 10 pound for pound. I've still got it in mine. She is that good. So I think she beats Estelle because May is that good, but I think it's a great fight. But, I think she's got a couple of ideas in the pipeline. It's obviously just waiting for it to come together, and I'm sure she's waiting on what one fighter's doing to then decide and all of that. But yeah, I think that's what's exciting for me. There's tons of possibilities and opportunities. She could get herself up to 140 in the future sooner rather than later. You've got a big fight there. So exciting times, but also exciting for Alicia Baumgardner, who did put on Twitter just before we come live that the fight will happen quicker than what we think.
That's exciting.
Yeah. So Choi's went from doing nothing to just be jumping in the ring next week. Literally would not surprise me.
I wonder where it'll be. Will it be in America?
I think so.
Yeah, because she's built a fan base over here.
She has, yeah. I feel like it will be in America though.
I don't know. Wouldn't even be surprised if she's over here, because it's almost like her lucky fighting country now.
True. True. She is like a UK resident now. I've just got a feeling it'd be in America because it would be nice for her to have a fight in America. In that sense, she's got a ton of fans over there as well. She'll want to continue to build her profile in America. And then I think other fights I should be looking at down the line are against UK fighters, where she'll probably want to fight them in the UK because it's even more money. So I just feel like with this Choi fight, this is a really good opportunity to get a bit of a homecoming type fight.
True, I'm for yeah.
It's for Undisputed. I don't think it'd headline. I think it'd be a solid co-main. But yeah, it'd be nice for her to fight in America, I think, for this fight, because like I say, I know she wants Katie Taylor in the future, and there's a couple of other girls she could have, and the more UK fighters that she'd be after, which then makes sense to have it in the UK financially for both fighters. So, but you never know. Like I say, she's done well the last 2 times in the UK. Why change it up? Another fight ordered.
Yeah.
Shaneka Johnson, Ellie Scotney. Really excited for this.
But the sanctioning bodies are on it this week.
I know, it's like they've all like had a couple of coffees and like, shall we do something? Shall we? Like, it's just been incredible. No, but it is good to see. This is a fight I thought we'd see anyway. I think out of all of the champions, I thought this one made the most sense. Obviously, we've got Ellie Scotney. She is now 6-0. If I wrote that down correctly. Yeah, she is. She's 6-0. Shaneka Johnson's the IBF champion, and her record is 15 wins with just 1 loss, and her loss come against Shannon O'Connell, who we'll talk about soon. So very experienced opponent, very good opponent, tough. If we remember her last fight, and she had a cut like that big.
Oh, it's terrible. Such a deep, wide cut.
Brutal. I forgot how young Shaneka Johnson was, actually. I think she's only 26 or 27.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. She's a lot younger than her. Not that she looks old, but she's quite experienced. She's done well over the years.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this.
Very exciting fight, because although Shaneka Johnson is champion, she's not defended it very, she's only defended it once.
Mm-hmm.
Scotney's obviously not had very many fights, so it kind of evens things up almost, if you know what I mean. I know Shaneka Johnson's experience outside of the world, but at the world level, she's not had that much experience. So yeah, I mean, I think I might even edge it to Ellie Scotney if I'm going to be put on the spot about it. But it's going to be a very tough, competitive fight.
It is. I'm really, really looking forward to this fight. I actually really like watching Shaneka Johnson fight. I find her style entertaining. I thought she's done very well against Susie Q. I like watching her, and I love watching Ellie Scotney fight. Ellie gets better and better all the time. I love Ellie's journey to where she is now. I love the fights they've taken. It's literally like they're going up ladders. They've not skipped any out. It's literally a step at a time, each opponent. But she started, I think her debut was Beck Connolly, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was. So, started in a good scrap there, and then, moved up step by step by step, and being in with some fantastic fighters and former world champions. And yeah, I definitely feel like the time's right for Ellie. There's nothing else for her to do prior to world level now.
No, I agree.
Like she's done it the last couple of fights. She's got better and better and better. And I find Ellie really entertaining to watch. I think I always say pleasing to the eye. She's got that lovely jab. Footwork gets better and better all the time. But she digs deep. I know she's not got knockouts, but you can tell she's powerful. She might not have that big one knockout, breather does Claressa Shields or Katie Taylor. So never bothers me. But she can overwhelm opponents and definitely tire them out. She's strong.
And she's worked on things because they've chosen opponents that were in a weakness, really. She struggled in one fight on the inside, then suddenly she's been having opponents left, right, and centre to challenge that, and it's made her better.
That's it. She did have that one fight where was that against Guanini, actually, wasn't it? Where she was getting roughed up a little bit on the inside, and people had it close. I still had Scotney winning, but it was a close fight, and she looked like she just couldn't quite work the inside at times. Was getting frustrated. Next fight, easy, done, sorted, fix it in one camp, and then just got better from there. So I'm looking forward to this one. I think it'll be close, rightly so. We say Ellie's only had 6 fights. Shaneka's had over twice as many with only 1 loss.
Yeah.
But experience-wise, they're probably on similar similar grounds like you've just said. So I don't think anyone even has an advantage or disadvantage. Ellie's obviously been on the bigger platforms. She's used to the bigger stage, I suppose, globally. But yeah, I think Ellie comes through this one, but it'll be a great fight. It's a big fight for her in her young career.
And obviously it's going to go to purse bids, which I believe Matchroom will win undoubtedly. So I'd imagine it'll be over here somewhere. I mean, probably London way if it's going to be, you know, if they win purse bids, it'll be London for Ellie Scotney, won't it?
Yeah. Yeah, like you say, it has went to purse bids. I'd be very, very shocked if Matchroom didn't win that. I'm pretty sure they will. But again, a great opportunity for Shaneka Johnson to come over because it'll be a great fight. Win or lose, she'll go, and I'm sure it'll be a case where both of their stocks rise massively. I think it will be a really good fight. So I'm looking forward to this one. I was excited when this was ordered. Very excited.
And Cherneka will get her probably the biggest payday, which is nice.
Yeah, and again, I think she deserves that as well. You know, she's a fighter that, say, she's super entertaining, went through it. You know, she's done well. She's done what she's needed to do to win this world title. She defended it well in her last fight. Now she gets a nice payday. And listen, it'll be a close fight. She could go away and upset the plans of Ellie Scotney. Yeah. And that could be potentially life-changing. You know, what tends to happen then? You tend to get signed by Matchroom. If you beat one of their fighters, we'll just take you and we've still got the belt either way. So it could be life-changing for Shaneka Johnson. And I hope it is a close fight because that's what we're wanting to see at world level. You know, this is a world title fight. It's a big defense for Shaneka Johnson, but we want it to be close. But I would still edge it to Ellie, but wouldn't be surprised if Shaneka got it. Be nice for either of them. But yeah, I'm excited for that one. I hope it's sooner rather than later. I hope it's like early next year.
Someone mentioned about, you know, what about a cut? It can't be that soon because obviously Shaneka had that horrendous cut. So I guess it's as soon as that's healed up and then.
Yeah, because obviously she wouldn't even be able to spar or anything. So, I mean, I don't even know. That was such a big cut. God knows how long that takes to heal up, but it won't be overnight.
No.
Won't be overnight, but yeah, I mean, it'll be next year now, but yeah, I'm just really excited for that one. Really, really excited. I think that obviously we don't know what card or anything it'd be on, but it'd be like it could steal the show. It'll be that good. Great clash of styles. So looking forward to that. I'm glad Ellie Scotney has got her opportunity as well. Rhiannon Dixon, she has been added to the Leeds card on December 10th.
Yeah, which is great because again, Rhiannon's, like we've said, she's one of these amazing fighters who's going under the radar, but she's getting all her graft in, her work in, her learning in, and then she's just going to suddenly hit the, you know, getting people, they'll be like, wow, Rhiannon, where's she come from?
Yeah. We always say, don't we? She's got the perfect balance because she's on a great platform like Matchroom, but she's always obviously on fairly early on the card. Kind of probably not on everyone's radar, but she should be. And she will be eventually. She will be soon enough. But I know she's not in any massive rush. She's still young. And I'm sure when I interviewed her, she was like, I've got 10 years in the sport. So there's no huge rush. It'd be nice to see her get a title. Maybe I don't know what this fight is. I believe it's just another fight. So I think it'd be next year. She'll be looking for a first title, possibly. But you know, say all the time, Rhiannon's exciting to watch. She gets better all the time. Great personality, super funny. So she'll be a great seller as well. But she already is. I mean, the last show she was at, the Nottingham show, she was on fairly early, but had a great crowd with her. Great load of supporters. So she obviously can sell tickets as well.
She's very likable.
Yeah, that's it. So she has been added to the card. So we've obviously got Rhiannon Dixon on that card. Shannon Courtney has been moved to that card after the Eubank Ben fight fell through.
Shannon Courtney, I believe, is fighting Egg. It's been rescheduled for that matchup.
So that fight, because obviously that was meant to be the opponent anyway, first time round.
Yeah.
Dare I even ask how you think that fight's going to go?
Well, Shannon Courtney is looking. Have you seen any of the footage lately? Like, I just think she just mentally like back on it. Physically looks like she's back on it. I feel like we're getting the peak Shannon Courtney back, to be honest. So as long as the injury holds out and it's not to, you know, covered nicely. I think we're going to see a great performance from her, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hopefully Gemma puts up I think she'll put up a great scrap like she always does. But obviously Shannon's expected to win. She's an ex-world champion and she's very strong. So
I just threw you under the bus there, but yeah. No, I'm really excited for Shannon Courtney to come back. I think I've always been a big fan of Shannon Courtney. One of the only ones at times, but I've stood there for her. But no, I am a fan of Shannon Courtney because I love her story to where she got to. You know, I've always said she doesn't help herself at times, but I loved her last interview. And she, you know, she was very honest about kind of, she felt like she'd become this person that she wasn't and put up this persona. And that must be very easy done in boxing. You know, she's not the only one to do it. She's probably just one of the only few to admit she's done it. So I like this, the real, I suppose, Shannon Courtney. And listen, she got beat to Jamie Mitchell. You know, she obviously had that massive heavy strap on her knee. She could barely move it. She was having to like drag it behind her. It just wasn't great. But it's nice to see her back. It's been long. And then she's obviously had that bump in the road where after 12 months, practically to the day, she was going to finally come back. And Conor Benn fails multiple drug tests.
Actually, I thought that was unfortunate.
So, you know, many bump in the road for Shannon Courtney, but she's still, you know, she's young. You know, I think she's around 28 or 29, Shannon Courtney. So still plenty of time ahead of her. I'd like to see her get a couple of fights in before she jumps in. And I think she admitted herself she probably wasn't ready for world level. And that could have been the case also. So not just physically or boxing skill, but I think mentally sometimes.
Say more than anything.
Yeah. But I think we've seen that a lot, you know, especially for women in their 20s. It's tough. And, you know, she had to go through a lot of criticism as well as learning a lot about herself, which is, you know, when you're in your 20s, it's tough. So she's probably coming to the end of that, them weird phases of not knowing who you are as well, and probably seeing criticism online, and it affects you more as you're younger than as you're getting on a bit. So as you'd know, Susie. No, but no, I am excited to see her come back. I really am. And
I don't know what you're talking about.
I can only say that because I'm a little bit younger, so I'm allowed to say that.
What was it? One of the boxing media said to me in last month at the arena.
Oh, I don't know.
No, I was like,
like 40.
And I was like, right, you're my new best friend.
Oh yeah, I remember he did say that.
Yeah.
He did also, you know, I'm not actually, you know what, it's fine. I'll let you have it. You thought you were in your 20s. He was just being polite, but I'll let you have it.
Happy.
And then also on that card is, so obviously we've got Rhiannon Dixon, Shannon Courtney, and then Ebanie Bridges and Shannon O'Connell.
Yeah.
And I have finally just got around to watching the press conference.
Yes.
Have you watched it?
Yes. Yeah.
What did you think of it?
It went how I expected it, to be honest. So obviously
it didn't to me. It was, I'm going to say, more polite. It was a bit more chilled and respectful at times than I thought it would be.
Obviously Eddie was the one that was, you know, sort of in the middle of it all. But it was the same old thing, really. I felt like Shannon O'Connell brought up the same issues she had. Ebanie's obviously, oh, hang on. You know, you've been slagging me for 2 years. I'm a legitimate champion, lingerie model now, or a skanky stripper, as I think she's called her. Mm-hmm. So I felt like it was kind of that narrative still. That's what I mean by what I expected. But like you said, yeah, there wasn't any, you know, particular shouting, slanging, swearing at each other or anything like that. So who knows? As it gets nearer, but yeah, it was quite polite, really.
They could be best friends by the end of it. No. definitely not. But do you know what I didn't like? And I know Eddie Hearn's there to do a job and sell the fight and all of that. But I feel like the same question got asked about 9 times, and it kept referring to Ebanie and her lingerie. And he said a couple of times, like, to Ebanie, do you feel like you're an outsider? And I even think she was like, no, but thank you. And kind of said about, how, because you've had to fast track it doing. And I don't know, I just feel like it's the same narrative of, she's fast tracked herself to world level. Well, we've just spoke about Ellie Scotney, who's 6-0, going for a world title.
Yeah.
What was Ebanie at the time? 5-0.
Yeah, I think it was 5-0. So it was much different.
Shannon Courtney, who she fought, was 7-1 or something.
Yeah, it's the same.
Wasn't Choi 0-0 when she won her world title? Do you know what I mean? So I don't like that side when I don't like that. In the sense of it's like, I feel like even he's trying to imply like, oh, well, because, you got your kit off, then you got this world title. Well, it's more so, and that's what Ebanie tries to put across, and she does it really well, is, yeah, okay, she weighs in, but like she was saying, like everyone weighs in some form of, lingerie, don't they, or whether it's like a sports bra, whatever, but you have to wear next to nothing when you weigh in. It's not like Ebanie invented that. She might do it her way, but that's how everyone's had to weigh in, It's like criticizing men when they come out and they're like skimpy Calvin Kleins, but that's what they've done forever. So I don't really like that side of it.
Yeah, do you know what? You are right. You did mention that a few times and pushed that, because I felt like he was almost trying to create that. They're trying to create that spice, that bit of argument, and to build the fight. So I feel like they're using that as the fuel, weren't they?
Yeah, but it just felt a bit forced then, because I think even Shannon O'Connell was a bit like, all right, well, I've said my piece now, like just... And then it kind of flipped and went a bit respectful. So I feel like they've overplayed that a little bit. Obviously, Shannon O'Connell did start and say she doesn't like how Ebanie promotes herself. She does think she's a skanky stripper. Each to their own opinion, and she does it different. But I think that's the thing, like, Ebanie does do it different, but it's not the weigh-in for me that she's done. What she'd use as well as social media. That for me is one of the biggest things. Why do these YouTubers sell out more than boxers? Because they use social media. I know Shannon O'Connell was like, I don't like it. And I get that. It's not for everyone. But unfortunately, it is the way of the world. And if you want to become a bigger name and get these opportunities like Ebanie Bridges, it's not about getting your kit off, because she was weighing in the way she weighs in now back in Australia before becoming on like Twitter and things like that. It's the social media presence and, like she said, doing interviews and podcasts and
personality.
Personality of getting yourself out there. So yeah, I'm just a bit bored of that narrative of like, oh, she gets the kit off, because it's like, oh, well, yeah, we know. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
and the fact that when she makes out as though she's the real boxer, Shannon O'Connell, and she's had it the hard way, she's the real boxer, she's not in it for the money, so what you want about? Well, no, actually, does she even know Ebanie's backstory, that she's, liked boxing since she was a teenager? If she listens to her interviews or commentary, she knows boxing, not just suddenly come into it for some sort of fame. If Ebanie was trying to do it for fame and money, she wouldn't be a boxer, let's face it. Female boxer.
Yeah, there's easier ways to make a living.
She's doing it, maximizing what she can. She wants to be a female boxer, and she tried to, like you say, use social media to bring eyes to the sport, to grow the sport, and to maximize her position within the sport and get more money for everybody.
Which I think she's heavily criticized for because she says it, but others do it, because she's there to make money at the end of the day, as is everyone. I get, like, it is about legacy and it is about all of that great thing, but at the end of the day, you got to pay bills and you got to live for the rest of your life. You got to retire at some point, and then what do you do then? So, like Ebanie said, you got to maximize every opportunity. she's only doing what everyone else is doing, yet some of it's being maybe slightly different, however, but she's maximizing every financial opportunity. That is what everyone does. That's why every fighter has sponsorships and does go on shows, TV. You know, we've seen a couple of them on SAS as well now. Like, you go out and do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like she gets criticised for that, but she's only doing what everyone does, but she just physically says it, and that's the only difference.
It's a funny thing, because actually knowing her personally, she really isn't materialistic at all. She'd give every last penny away to her friends, her family. You know, she revolves around her experiences and people. It definitely doesn't revolve around just money. It's like she's doing it because she knows her worth.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously, if you settle for less, she's saying that you're worth less.
Mm-hmm.
I know that if she had to fight for a world title for nothing, she would still do it, because that's what she wants to do, that's what she loves. But she shouldn't be doing it for that. She should be doing it for what she's worth, equivalent to the men. So that's what she's pushing for.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think obviously she's super misunderstood, isn't she? And I feel like Shannon O'Connell has maybe misunderstood her a little bit. But I suppose it is what it is. But they were very respectful of each other in certain areas. Not obviously when you're getting called a scripper and things like that. That's not too respectful. But, you know, it's all entertaining for me, so it doesn't bother me. It's good to watch. But you know, they've both said it is a tough challenge for each of them respectively, and it'll be a great fight, and that's what needs to happen as well. It's going to be a big build up, I think, so it needs to be a big fight to match it as well. And there's a lot on the line. It's more than a world title. There's pride on the line now when you got this beef.
Yeah.
That's more than the title.
And I just think it's funny that she's fighting. Ebanie's fighting on the same card as the two Shannons. She's got the old Shannon, the new Shannon, and I think that she's going to become friends with Shannon Courtney over O'Connell.
Yeah. They can't become too much friends because they might fight again in the future. But we could see a little friendship there ganging against Shannon O'Connell. But I'm really looking forward to that show. Obviously, December 10th in Leeds. We'll both be there. You won't be working as hard as me this time, though.
I'll leave you back.
I'll be there working hard, though. But no, I'm looking forward to that. 3 great female fights on. And obviously that one, I'm really looking forward to that one. See how it goes. Exciting times. And then another announcement is Sandy Ryan. So she is fighting on November the 26th, so in 10 days' time. But change of opponent, she didn't quite explain why. She just said her opponent had pulled out, hadn't she?
It's a tough opponent that's been replaced with. It's not a pushover.
No, so it's Sanchez, who has got a record of 21 wins, which includes 13 knockouts and just 5 losses, and she's been stopped once. That's a really good opponent. And also, she's been in the ring. I wrote this down, I wouldn't remember it all. With Chantal Cameron and Jessica McCaskill in 2019.
Yeah.
In 2017, she was in the ring with Katie Taylor and Hamadouche. And then in 2016, Eva Wallström. So they're her 5 losses. 5 out of 5 losses. They're and like I always say, they don't count when you're fighting the greats. So, you know, all of them actually have went on to go become world champions.
Yeah, the incredible opponent for Sandy Ryan. She's not taking a back step at all. She's ploughing on forward, isn't she?
She's not slowing down, is she? This is actually, I think, a tougher opponent than the initial opponent.
Yeah.
But, you know, they want to move on. They want to push on for world titles. Well, if she wins this fight, you're going to say she's ready. Is she Chantal Cameron ready then? That's the question.
That's the hard thing. We were talking about that before with like the trouble when you step up to go through the undisputed, and there's no other step up.
Yeah.
So right now, no, ready for just Shannon, not just world future champion.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. I mean, would she go to 147 and fight McCaskill? She's got. I'd actually quite like that fight.
I think that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, but not Sandy Ryan, Chantal Cameron, just not for me right now. But like you've just said, Chantal's just like a different. Feel like you got your world level, and then you've got your elite, and
right.
she, you know, Chantal's elite, isn't she? And it's just, I think Sandy's got to take time to build her stock, or continue to build her stock and gain them experiences. But like I say, this is the thing, as great as it is, how many divisions in women's boxing's got undisputed, makes the sport so much simpler. It's tough for them girls coming through. Like we're talking about Raven Chapman before, who's in featherweight. Well, there's a high chance that we'd have Amanda Serrano and Erica Cruz fight for undisputed.
Yeah.
So then your first world title challenge would be against an undisputed champion. That's crazy.
And a pound for pound.
Well, yeah, and then when it's Amanda Serrano, you're fighting one of the best to step foot in the ring. I mean, that's just another story. But this is where I think women's boxing will help the fear of having that losing that zero. Where look at UFC and MMA in general, like you've got some of the best fighters in the world, and they've got 4 or 5 losses on the record, but they're 4 or 5 losses against the best at that time, and they fight each other multiple times. So, you know, it'll only help the sport, but it's tough for some of them. It is tough when you're looking and you're going, right, I'm ready for a world title. And you're like, oh, it's Amanda Serrano. Like, that's just a different level, isn't it?
That's it.
Right, we've just got a couple of comments. So someone's just put Sandy Ryan's been put on the fast track.
Yeah, it was super fast.
Lightning speed. She was a very good amateur, wasn't she? She's transitioned nicely into the pros. I feel like you can't go too slow. It's that funny because we don't have the British titles and we don't have them domestic fights until you get to world level. Then there's only kind of one speed you can go, I suppose, isn't there, at times? She didn't, because at the end of the day, we all would have criticised, well, we wouldn't have, but other people could have criticised if she fought journey women.
Yeah.
And then she stepped up and then she lost. And then everyone criticised. So it is tough to know when to move up. You know, you look at Ellie Scotney, you could argue on paper, has she moved too quickly? But actually, when you watch her performances, it's like a great jigsaw puzzle coming together. So if you've got it, haven't you? You know, if you're that talented.
You know, I have a feeling that they would put her against her team. Obviously, backs up their own. I just got this feeling that they'd be like, right.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the chance of
big fight though, isn't it? Big fight. But I mean, it was Sandy Ryan's trainer, Mitchell, that called Chantal out after Sandy's win.
I mean, I think pushing for it.
But I don't know. Will we see that fight? I don't know. I mean, listen, Matchroom might push for that fight. You know, they've invested in Sandy Ryan. So I don't know. It's not for me right now, though. There's other fights. You know, Chantal's got loads of options. I really like the Chantal Michaela Mayer fight. You know, there's big fights out there that I'd rather see, I think, before that. And Sandy will get there, definitely. But, you know, she's still fresh in the sport, isn't she? So I just don't think I think, yeah, she's world level, but let's not rush her to where you're talking top 5 pound for pound.
I completely agree. Weird feeling.
Ooh, let's see if you're right.
Yeah.
Who do you believe will step up at 147 and challenge for McCaskill's belts?
Well, we've just mentioned
I reckon
she has lost. Now she's had to vacate.
Has she vacated one?
Well, what? Was it Jonas? on Twitter. He's mentioned it and said it's one of the belts she's had to vacate.
And is that Jessica Kamara who's fighting for it?
I don't know, because it was due for her, wasn't it? So
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I quite like Jessica Kamara fights against McCaskill. But you got, I know Chantel Cameron mentioned, but I don't know, would she go up if it's not undisputed? Probably not. Terri Harper, Tasha Jonas. But Jessica Kamara, I like her. Like that fight. Cecilia Brackhouse, would she go to 147? I'll probably stick around 154, but she's not someone we mentioned at the 154.
True. She never moved around during a huge career, but then opportunities there because she's still desperate to end her career on a high.
Dangerous when people do that. I don't like that. Doesn't work in any sport. Every sport, they try and end the career in that fairy tale way, and it just doesn't tend to work. But yeah, there's loads of options for Jessica McCaskill. I think she'll be at a stage in her career with her age as well. Obviously, she's late 30s. As of you, Susie. But yeah. No, she's late 30s. I think, she's not going to be fighting for 5 more years. She'll want the big fights now, won't she? I know she's desperate for the Katie Taylor rematch. Do not see it. No. I don't think that's a massive money maker. But yeah, I think there's tons of people who can go to 147 because you've got the 154 girls who can move down, and then you've got Chantel who can move up. I'd love to see Michaela Mayer, but obviously, like I said before, it'll take time for her to get to 147. But yeah, it's exciting. Someone else has mentioned here 154 pound belt are going to be hot potatoes if Shield decides to come back and reclaim them. That's quite funny. Give you that one, Anthony Steele. Yeah, I mean, if she comes, I mean, she's just a threat, isn't she? She's a nightmare. As soon as she said, I'm going to come down to 154, everyone must have been like, bloody hell.
But like you say, she's one of these fighters where a loss to Shields doesn't mean, it's not a loss as such. It
doesn't count.
It's a great fight. You get eyes on the sport, you get your payday as well. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I've got is the weight thing with, if you've got Tasha and Terri and then Claressa.
That's true.
But there's loads of fights for Claressa as well out there. And imagine she fights for undisputed again. She's a threat to anyone, isn't she? Who she goes in the ring with. You've always got to back Claressa against anyone.
And they've got plans, haven't they? Her and a team to do, to get undisputed more weight division. So
yeah, I mean, she said, didn't she, in a post-fight press conference that she's got years left in the sport. She wants to keep breaking records and, achieving greatness. So she's not going to stop. So she's got the opportunity to go down to 154 and fight for undisputed. She'll do that all day. But, kind of, I don't know, the divisions just went funny now, hasn't it? We don't really know. It kind of looked like it was fitting perfectly, but now the Tasha and Terri thing is up in the air. We've got Mary Spencer who can come in. We have got Cecilia Brackhouse who will fight at that weight. There's a couple of others that could possibly move down to it as well.
Yeah.
So we actually don't know who could end up with the belts because if they're not going to get on, if for instance Tasha isn't looking for undisputed at this weight, will she now vacate?
Yeah.
If Terry's not going to get it, will she vacate?
In which case, all these other they're going to come for. Even Marie might come back for it.
That's what I mean. There's so many girls who could also move down to it. So actually, this division is kind of really up in the air. Yes, Shields she might come and try and take the belts one by one again. If they get vacated, you just don't know. But that could be a possibility because either end up with the 154 division as an undisputed champion, or they're all vacated because Terri and Tasha have moved on to different weights. So I suppose it's interesting. I'd rather it undisputed though.
Yeah, me too.
I already know your opinion, but I'm going to ask. Claressa Shields says she's the GOAT. How do you feel?
About you, Tasha?
Yeah. all day, isn't she? You know, I know people go, she's the self-proclaimed goat, but she's not really self-proclaimed because she's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. Yeah, 3-weight world champion, a 3-time undisputed champion, pound for pound best, undefeated, only 1 loss on amateurs. Like the list goes on, doesn't it? So yeah, I wouldn't say she's self-proclaimed. I know she calls herself it, but you know, it's also her boxing nickname. But yeah, she is, isn't she? You know, she's hard to beat. I mean, I find the comparison between Claressa and Katie tough because they're so different.
Yeah.
The careers are so different as well. Even though obviously they are fantastic Olympians, the professional careers have been different. And I don't like to compare. I just have them both as pound for pound best.
And me, I think Claressa as the boat, where I think of Katie as a legend up there in her own. And it pushes off the 7-1 bit, and I kind of feel like that as well.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It is a case of they're both the best, and then I have Amanda Serrano up there as well. Obviously, Amanda will be 2 at the minute because of the Katie fight, but if they ever rematch and Amanda wins, then them 2 would jump. So it's kind of for me a triangle between them, and then you've got the likes of Chantel coming in and. Couple of other Seniesa Estrada as well. You know, she'll have the opportunity to become undisputed.
This is where all your 10.
Yeah, and then Michaela Mayer, Terri Harper as well. I've got them in my top 5. Raven Chapman will be in my top 5. The biggest top 5 pound for pound list ever. But I stand
I don't like the pound for pound list anymore because there's so many of the fighters I love that I find it just too hard.
I don't post mine anymore because it was terrifying getting people's responses back. If I had someone in 5 and they had them in 4, the abuse I'd get, and I was like, you know, I'm just never going to post my pound for pound again. That's why they're just all shoved in the top 5 now. It is terrifying. Off the top of your head, do we have any big shows this weekend?
We have Kirsty Bavington. EBU title.
Yes. I seen Robbie Flynn was obviously posting on Instagram about the Bavo and the Allen fight potentially.
Yeah.
I'd like that one. That'd be good.
He was saying it could be for, you know, depending on how he goes on, depending on if you retain people like the EBU, if that's the first British title, obviously belt.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great for but I don't know, he listed a few anyway. But yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and that'd be a great fight as well. I rate both fighters actually. I think they've done really well so far in their careers. I'd love to see that one, and all British as well. That'd be a great domestic fight. So yeah, looking forward to that. Is that on Fight Zone?
Yes, on Fight Zone.
Amazing. Best of luck to Bavo. I like Bavo. She's good. Obviously, she had that, what people said was a shock win against April Hunter, but people had just underestimated her. Now look, she's doing well.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, that'd be definitely great.
Yeah, 100%. And I just feel like throughout the week, I'm sure there'll be more. I feel like we're gonna have some like breaking news stuff coming as well. I've just got the feeling we're gonna have some fights announced and other people upsetting other people and more beef between Terri and Tasha. I just feel like loads is going to be going on. So make sure everyone follows us on social media because I like a few retweets, and I'm sure I'll do some tweets to upset people as well. So
this week, didn't you?
Say again?
The trolls after you this week.
This week, yeah, that was because of my bold statement about Terri and Tasha. Being able to sell out. And God, did you see the influx of them? It's like they were all waiting. It's like they knew I'd do it. Yeah.
They're the ones that have been on at you because of the ticket sales for the
yeah, so it's the same group of people again. Even though one of them went really quiet when Claressa and Savannah sold out, I didn't hear from him for weeks. I was really upset. And then he was back though. He was back.
And you tried to screenshot some seats saying, "Oh look, there's one free seat in the corner of the arena. It's not a sellout."
Yeah, and I was like, someone just went to the toilet. Like, chill. But yeah, they were all there today. But I still stand by it. If we see Terri Harper, Tasha Jonas, that sells in an arena or a stadium. I stand by that. And like I stood by the Shields and Marshall, and I was right. I'm never wrong. I wish these trolls would realise by now I am not wrong.
And if they think that free tickets aren't given away to every single fight, they're deluded, because they're giving away every single fight. There was some free fights for that one, free tickets for that one, but there are for every single fight.
Every single, I think virtually every single show have a proportion of tickets that are given out to certain charities, and you've got like tickets for troops and things like that. Me and Mark, before obviously now I get to sit ringside for free, but prior to that, me and Mark used to always get free tickets. I don't think I've ever paid. I think I might have paid for like 2 boxing shows. That's it in my whole time. And I've seen the rest for free because they give them to certain organizations and things like that. I've seen Anthony Joshua in Cardiff fight for free because they gave a proportion of the tickets for troops. So it's not just because it was women's boxing. It happens on every show. But, you know, what do we know, Susie?
Yeah.
They know more because they've watched one fight at home. So, but yeah, I feel like when we're back Monday night, there'll be loads have happened. I feel like it's all coming together because obviously we're getting to the end of the year now. Some big fights are going to be made for next year, so it's going to be exciting.
And then we can talk next week, some big fights, coming up, because we've obviously got Jamie Mitchell versus Nina Hughes, Sandy Ryan. So we can talk all about that next week. So yeah, should be
if we're brave enough.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'll see if I'll talk about the Jamie and Nina fight. I'll see how I feel. I might let you do that one.
So I think we might have a few more people other than just Terri and Jamie, Gemma watching us, because we're getting it in the neck sometimes, aren't we?
We're upsetting a few people, but it's okay. I can't please everyone. Cannot please everyone. But yeah, that'll be exciting as well. I am actually looking forward to that fight. Jamie Mitchell and Nina Hughes for a world title. Great opportunity for Nina Hughes, who's obviously fantastic amateur and then doing great things as a pro. She's been knocking people out as a pro.
Yeah.
So it'll be a good fight. I'm looking forward to that one. But yeah, we can talk about that one next week.
Definitely.
Right. See you then.
Yes. Been a big show today.